Welcome back to the shop, everybody. This evening, I'm going to get started on a project I've been looking forward to for a little while now, and that is to make a stop for my mill vise, in this case, a multi-axis stop. Now, since I got the mill, I've been using two types of stops. The first one are these simple clamp style, which you clamp down over the vise jaw, which works wonderfully. The only side effect is, or you should say side effect, the only negative is if your part that you're working on is wider than your vise jaws, then you can't use it. And then the other thing I've been using is just a cheap import mag base that I turned an end down on. And I would just clamp this down to the mill table, or mag it down to the mill table, I should say, and then I could go to town. There are two things I really don't like about this. One is that it's not repeatable, and the stop that I'm going to make will be. And then two, I have to remove my table covers, which I really don't like doing. I like having something to protect the table in case I drop an end mill or a wrench or a part or whatever, it doesn't ding up the table. So I'll throw a quick render up on the screen for you of the stop I'm going to make. As you can see from the render, it's a fairly simple design made from linear shafting that you can buy anywhere, and then just some plain old school bar stock. This is 1018, but you could use really anything. The way I've designed it, everything can be done at the mill, and none of the operations are overly complex or difficult. I would tell you the most difficult thing is the fact that to make the clamping mechanisms, I'm going to be using a slitting saw, but if you don't have a slitting saw, you could easily do it at your bandsaw. It doesn't really matter, it's just a personal preference. So to get started, I've got to take all of the bar stock I have and then mill it down to rough squares. So I'll get started on that now. There we go. Gone ahead and milled all the stock down to size. So now I can really get down to what's important in this project. Okay, I've got the blocks that will actually attach the stop to the vise. And the first stop on them is to drill and then counterbore the holes for the mounting screws. So I almost screwed this up, and this is why you should always double check your work. I was supposed to pre-drill with a 13 30-second drill. Instead, I grabbed 15 30-seconds. But thankfully, I didn't get in far enough to be a problem because the counterbore itself will actually remove this. So I thankfully am saved. With the counterbore done, I'm now going to go ahead and chamfer the top of it. And given its diameter, I think the best way to do that is with a custom ground boring bar in the boring head. Next up is to drill, tap, and then counterbore for the screw that will actually clamp the linear shafting in place. I changed my mind partway through. I'm going to flip it over and do the tapping. It'll be easier that way. This is a spiral flute tap, so I can just kind of run it straight down. Don't really have to break the chips or anything like that, at least not in 1018. Okay, that should be good. All I gotta do is chamfer this hole, and then I can do the other one. So the next step is to go ahead and drill and then bore the hole for the 5/8 linear shafting, which will be the primary means of adjusting the projection of the stop in the x-axis. So that's it for this side. Now I can flip both these over and chamfer the other side of the hole, and then I can get on to some interesting milling. This is another one of those scenarios where order of operations is important. Because of what the slitting saw will do to the part, I'm going to go ahead and chamfer all the edges first, or at least all the edges I can get to. This is nothing really special, it's just a 90-degree carbide chamfering tool. I've got you in close, so hopefully you'll get a good view. Okay, we are down to the finicky part, and that is to go ahead and slit the mounts. I've got a 4-inch diameter, 1/8 inch thick slitting saw in place, and I'm going to run the machine as low and as slow as it'll go. And that's it for these parts. This is pretty much everything, as you can see, to hold this top piece from flopping around. I just took a little chunk of aluminum that's the right diameter and then clamped it in there. So since everything else is pretty much the exact same task, I won't bore you with showing you the machining of all the parts. So I'll bring you back when I'm ready to put it all together. It's been several weeks since I filmed the last segment, such as the life of a parent of a newborn, but I have managed to get an hour in the shop here and there, and I've got everything done now. So we are over here at the mill once again, so I can show you how everything goes together. So first up, as you can see here, are the blocks that mount the stop to the actual vise, and it is subsurface, so you have full use of your vise. The only thing you can't really do is flip the vise jaws around and mount them on the back. That won't work, of course. Loosen this up real quick. So as you can see here, you could extend the stop all the way out here or all the way out to the other side. The stop will work on either side of the vise. All you do is take this Allen wrench and lock them down. And now you're rock solid. Let me go around to the front of the mill and I'll show you the rest of the components. I've gone ahead and mounted the rest of the components and put a piece of bar stock here in the vise to simulate a workpiece. As you see it right now, this is kind of how most people use a mill stop. You got your workpiece mounted in the vise, butted up against a little finger, and that's your reference surface. This allows you to do anything you want really to the top of your workpiece. Drilling, boring, reaming, milling, anything you want really. The issue I find, at least for me personally, is I do a lot of work on the side of a workpiece. And in a lot of circumstances, the stop itself gets in the way. And the issue with that is that, okay, I can just pop this off like so, do whatever operations I need to the side, and then I'm done with this piece. I can pull it out. But how do I get that reference surface back that I had? I either have to put another workpiece in and then re-indicate it somehow, or I have to have the stop has to be repeatable. And that's what this component back here lets you do. It's nothing more than a piece of stock, bar stock, 1018, what the whole project is made from, that slit mounts to this back bar, and it has a little socket head cap screw in it down here. So you take this component here that you used, slide it back over, push it over this way, so you got it's referenced on that face, and then it comes down and butts against that socket head cap screw. Lock the ratcheting handle down, put your new workpiece in, slide it over to your bump, lock your vise down, and you're good to go. I've tested this with a dial indicator. This repeats to within a tenth every time. So now I could pop this back off, mill on this piece, and then just rinse and repeat as many times as necessary. So let me pull this out and I'll show you how adjustable this stop is. So you can adjust the finger forward and back by just loosening this cap screw. Depending on where you have everything positioned, you can reach almost all the way across the vise, at least on my 4-inch vise. And it really depends on how big the piece of bar stock you're using. If you're using something like a big 3/8 bar, well then you could reach all the way across the 6 or 8-inch vise if you wanted to. This 3/8 bar lets you adjust your position in the y-axis. You can adjust it here, and this finger mount here will slide back and forth, or you can adjust it back here and the bar will slide back and forth through this elbow joint. And then lastly, if you slide this off, since it's just a bore, just rotate it around. So if you've got a high part, you need the reference up here somewhere, rotate it and adjust your stick out accordingly. And then again, you can, since it's just a bore, you can adjust this stop in any orientation you want to fit your needs. And that's really all there is to this. It's a really simple design. I know I'm not the first one to come up with it. It's just, I saw things similar, but nothing quite like this. So I just sat down and drew it up. I'll put plans on my website, which I'll link to in the description of the video on YouTube, or if you're hitting my blog, you'll see the link right away. So I hope everyone likes this project, and I hope to see you again on the next video.